here with Karim Karawia, and he is going to tell us about a deal that he purchased in South Bend, Indiana. It was a 12-unit deal, bought it for 450K. Great deal, by the way, and says that it's currently worth 600K as is without any repairs. And so it's a really interesting story here. Hey, Karim.
Hello, how are you, Josh?
I'm doing awesome. And I'm really excited for you to tell this story. Talk to me a little bit about, first and foremost, uh, mentorship specifically was fundamental in helping you get this deal. Although we'll talk about how you found the deal in a minute. But as far as getting you into the right place and the right mindset, can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, before the mentorship program, I probably was doing things on my own, doing some readings and stuff like that. But since when I joined, my mentor really, supported me and gave me the confidence of, getting a deal done. Random small little questions you probably just think to yourself when you're on your own, but with a mentor, I was able to ask him, as many questions as I needed. And it was consistent, right? We met every week and every other week consistently. And it really helped me put myself in that mindset, so I could close this deal.
That's great. And another thing that you had mentioned to me before we started talking was just being around people that are trying to do things
Mhm.
helps you be encouraged to do things as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk
Right.
about the community a little bit.
Yeah. So, in addition to the mentorship, you're part of a program where there's a group of people that are trying to do the same things. You try to get their first deal or keep on going. And there's a Slack group, right? So on there, you see everyone talking about their deals and, them closing it or they're getting close. And so being around those people adds a little bit of like some type of pressure, right? In a good way, to kind of push you. Right. So that was also really supportive of me and, trying to close my first deal.
I've noticed the same things in pretty much every facet of my life. If I surround myself with other people who are
Mhm.
doing these things,
Right.
it helps me believe that I can do it, and it
Right.
helps start to kind of erase some of that doubt that creeps
Yep.
in when you're out there by yourself and there's
Right.
nobody talking about this with you. There's
Yep.
nobody to check in with. You don't see anybody posting their wins, if you
Yep.
will. You kind of start to
Yep.
wonder, well, can I even do this?
Yeah, exactly. And then the group is very personal. Like if you ask a question, you'll get a direct answer from, either another mentor or someone else, and they'll respond pretty quick and say, "Oh no, you should do this or you should do that." So it does definitely help.
So let's get into how you found this deal, which is a little bit unconventional. And,
Yeah.
and I love this story. I want you to go ahead and tell it. I don't want to ruin it, but this is
Yeah,
good
yeah,
for
yeah.
us.
So the deal is in South Bend. I had originally had a single family house in South Bend as an investment property, but it was small and I wanted to get into apartments, just like, you talked about in the program. So I joined a Facebook group and I, reached out and said, hey, I'm looking to buy apartments in South Bend. Anyone, have any info or can help me? An owner reached out and said, hey, I own 12 units, but I'm not looking to sell in any time close, but, just keep me in mind. And so every 2 weeks, I kept on reaching out to him and said, hey, are you looking to sell? Are you looking to sell? And, got little pieces of information here and there. But after, about 6 months, he was like, hey, if you're serious about this, I want to meet the person that's going to take this, in person. So we didn't even have like a contract. We didn't have a purchase price. He didn't even give me an address yet, to be honest. So I was like, I'm going to take his word for it that he has this deal and he's going to consider me. So I flew out there, same day, same night, and was like, hey, we met, had lunch, talked about it, and kept on having the conversation going, and we agreed to 450,000. I knew it was a steal, to be honest. He definitely undervalued it, even though he had it for a really long time. But so yeah, it was just persistence of reaching out to him every week, every other week, and flying out there and seeing him in person and taking that kind of that leap. I'm sure a lot of people probably would not have done anything if there's no contract or anything agreed to, but I took the leap, met him, and was able to get the deal done.
That is so awesome. It's such a great story because you basically just decided, you know what, I'm going to do the thing that most people wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And when you do the thing that most people wouldn't do, you get the things that most people wouldn't get.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
And so where do you live actually? So you heard from the guy and you bought
Yeah.
a plane ticket and you got on the
Yeah.
plane that day.
Yeah. So I live in Los Angeles, California.
You flew across the
And
country.
yeah.
to hang out with a stranger about a deal that you knew nothing about.
Yeah, I literally flew out and then I stayed there one night. Next day, I met him around like 3 o'clock. Talked. He gave me a little bit of info. He didn't give me the address yet, to be honest. And later on that night, I flew home. I literally was there for like an hour meeting. Flew home and got some little bit more of info, found exactly where it was, did some research online, was able to find the property without him actually telling me. But yeah, that's what I did.
Wow. And at what point uh, was there any doubt or concerns creeping in as you flew across the country, you talked to the guy, he's not really giving you the information you need.
Yeah.
Was there a moment where you just started feeling like, man, I don't know if this was worth it. I'm wasting my
Oh,
time.
yeah. Oh, definitely. Because, to be honest, we never even talked on the phone either. We reached out on Facebook Messenger the entire time. I didn't even have his phone number yet. And so I just was like, we've been talking and he seems very serious. He seems genuine. Got to know him a little bit through messages, but of course I had doubts. I thought maybe I would go out there and this guy would just be pulling my chain and, not be doing anything. But it was also one of those things where it was like, I don't ever like to have regrets. Right. So if I didn't fly out there, in 2 years, I would have been thinking to myself, like, you should have just flown out for a $300 flight or $500 total trip,
Yeah.
and so I did.
Wow. That's cool. And so where did the conversation, since he didn't really tell you the address of the
Yeah.
property, I'm assuming you didn't have a deal when you left.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where did that conversation get left and how did you follow up?
So he told me that he had 12 units, right? And it's in a small town called Walkerton, right outside South Bend, right? It's still part of South Bend, but it's right outside of it. And so I started doing some research. I started going on Google Maps and looking. The town is actually known for single family houses. There's like no apartments at all. There might be one other building, but I started doing some research and just kept on looking at it and was able to find it. I looked it up on software called PropStream, was able to find the LLC and who the owner was and found it was owned by him. And then I really knew, okay, well, we got something here.
Nice. And then, so once you got the deal under contract, talk to me about how you said you knew it was a steal.
Mm-hmm.
Were you using some calculators, some comps?
Right.
How did the kind of assistance and support you had through mentorship really help you get this deal through to closing?
Yeah. So through the deal maker certification, I know, you analyze properties through cap rate, NOI, all those, key metrics that you look at. I had spoken to brokers. I looked at their offering memorandums, their OMs, and seeing what cap rates are selling at. Cap rates are selling around, 6.5 to 7 over there, maybe 8. And I'm getting it at like a 10 and a half almost. With what he had, it was very undervalued. We looked at the rents, we looked at the expenses. He was paying for all the utilities. He had the rents very, very low. He had it for 20 plus years. And so I knew when I was looking at other properties and things that were being sold by other brokers, that I was definitely buying it undervalued. And that's how I knew.
And so what piece of advice would you give to anyone who is out there trying to get their first deal right now? What would be the number one, if you could tell them one thing that they could go and do right now, what would that be?
I think being persistent is very important. You can get all the steps of, okay, call a broker or, look at offering memorandums, analyze deals. But if you're not consistently either, talking to brokers or putting out offers or just having communications with owners directly, if you can get that. I know for sure if I was not persistent with this owner, I would not have this deal. Even though there was days where he did not call me back or I didn't call him or he didn't message me back, I still followed up like 2 weeks later. I said, hey, is everything okay? I haven't heard from you. And he was like on tour for work or something like that. And so he couldn't reach out. It was just like a genuine miscommunication or something like that. So persistence, I would say, is key for sure.
That's excellent. Karim, thanks so much for sharing your story with us. So once again, Karim Karawia.
Yeah.
Closed a 12-unit deal in South Bend, Indiana, and got an immediate boost in the value of that property because you got it for a really great deal, and it was turned out to be worth 30% more than what you bought it for. So, I mean, you got some equity in it from day one, which is
Yeah.
really, really cool. So that's a wrap. We're going to wrap up for today. Karim, thanks so much for sharing this story. Just one more win on the board for Michael Blanc's mentorship program, and Karim got out there and did the work. There's really no substitution for that. I will say this, there are no magic bullets. There are no easy buttons. Buying a multifamily property is hard work, and trying to do it alone is almost impossible. You need to show up ready to work and put in the effort. And if you can do that, then there are plenty of people out there that are willing to help you and to make sure that you get across the finish line. So if that's something that's interesting to you, you can go to themichaelblanc.com/mentor, have a look at some information and insights that we have there. And if you're interested in learning more about mentorship, which is what Karim did, then you can fill out an application, have a conversation with us, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks, Karim, very much for your time.
No problem.